Now, in The Social Dilemma, there are kind of two parts to it. You have the live action part. Well, it's all live action. That's not, the recreations, you'd say. Well, actually, no, three parts now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because you've got the recreations, you have the documentary of the interviews, and then you kind of also have this other part that is taking place kind of in the brain of a person that is obsessing with Facebook. I don't know how else to describe it. Maybe you can describe it better than me. What are kind of the three different elements to The Social Dilemma, and what was your role?
So the approach to this film was it was a hybrid documentary, and there was the documentary portion, which was speaking with experts and following one of our lead characters, Tristan Harris, through his work with the Center for Humane Technologies, just trying to spread the word about what social media networks are doing and what's going on behind the scenes. Yeah. And that was all somewhat traditional documentary with a non-traditional approach to the look, because our director, Jeff Orlovsky, wanted to be able to really sit with interviews and not have people get bored visually.
Yep.
And then there was a whole different narrative component, and we're careful to not use the word recreation because it isn't a recreation. It's a parallel storyline that is sort of incorporating all the elements of different people into a single narrative storyline that's this family we're following through this journey in social media and all of the problems that it causes for them. And then the dark side, the behind the scenes of what's going on inside the black box of the AI that has been created to steer social media users towards particular content.
Yeah, and that section is really the meat where it shows you the ins and outs of how social media gets your attention and what they do with that attention. So it's a really, I mean, it's a kind of a unique take on a traditional documentary, and I loved it. I think you're right. Like, it's just sometimes just all talking heads is too much. Like, you need to break away from that. And though they're not reenactments, like you said, that was a poor choice of words on my part. It does kind of help build a narrative story around this movie. I thought it was really cool.
Thank you. I'm glad. I mean,
now, what was your role on that? Which of these parts were you involved in?
So I was I'm the cinematographer for all the documentary portions of The Social Dilemma, and a gentleman named Jonathan Pope was the director of photography for all of the narrative portions of the film. And there was two crews, and all of the narrative portion was shot after all of the documentary portion was completed, and the storyline was pretty much assembled entirely. They made holes in the documentary portion for narrative parts and had a script, and we actually were looking at an animatic version of the film, and then the narrative portion was filmed after that, and then intercut into the film, and very minor tweaks were made to the documentary portion after the fact because so much of they'd done such a good job of previs ahead of time that when they went and shot the narrative, it was pretty much dropping right into holes that were already in the documentary.
Is that typical to have one cinematographer responsible for the interviews and another responsible for basically everything else, all the narrative part or the recreations or whatever it may be?
I've worked on network shows before where I was essentially I was in the other position. I was doing all the recreations and all the narrative stuff and all the scripted acted stuff. And there was another DP that was shooting the more documentary side of it. So yeah, that's been done before. A lot of times with documentaries, it'll be a single DP all the way through, but a lot of times they're not trying to have such dramatically different things.
Yeah,
dramatically different story elements. And so that was part of the choice here is to really make a departure and separate the two out. You know, the narrative portion is shot on Cook anamorphics, and the documentary portion is shot on Sigma Cine Primes. For the most part, we had some other lens choices and mixes, some Zeiss ZFs and I have a Canon 17 to 120 that got used on some of the live event stuff, and also sometimes got used on the documentary portions when we were changing sizes on the dolly camera. So different set of lenses, different lighting, different approach, different color grading was applied, although we sort of tried to merge things as much as possible so that you didn't have this jarring cut between the narrative world and the documentary world.
Yeah, I think once you've seen both of them one time through, like you digest it easily. Like you totally understand this is what's going to happen. We're going to be bouncing back and forth, and your eyes and your mind just like accept it. But in addition to that, I think you guys did a great job of having it feel seamless.